Hey guys, King Charles here. To be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. Today I bring to you my top 5 teams for the upcoming Weather Cup Great League Edition. I'm pretty sure Weather Cup Ultra League Edition is going to come out. Yeah, we're going to have an Ultra League one soon, but this is going to be for Great League. So, this cup is actually very weird, just because of a lot of the matchups that you see are a lot of Pokemon. It's like open Great League with Grass Hole with a Bastiodon and Grass Hole users, because Razor Leaf users exist in this meta. They also shred a lot of the water types, as in Swampert and Lantern. So you're probably going to see Razor Leafers a lot in this cup. That or their counters in Toxapex. So you're going to see a lot of madness in here. I put together these teams that I'm about to show you do well, but just mind you, Weather Cup is kind of, it's not very rock, paper, scissory, but could be very annoying just because, like I mentioned, you got Bastiodon Razor Leaf users everywhere. And things are supremely thick, as in Bastiodon and Toxapex. But before we get started, this is me, my therapist mental health tip of the day. As usual, you could skip this by going to the chapters. And this is about toxic relationships. This includes a lot of Pokemon Go. This includes toxic positive. So toxic positive relationships, like where everyone's going to tell you that Pogo PvP is the next and greatest thing since sliced bread of an esport, despite the fact that you pulled only 1.1k in San Diego regionals, which is really bad considering this is Cali. Mind you, the last time an esports event was made in Cali, which was, I remember Apex's one, but they easily got 90 to 100k views. So you got 10,000% more. It's just not out there. So yes, avoid toxic positive relationships. But this is the psychology behind remaining in them. So this applies to friends, family members, or acquaintances who are stuck in relationships. Even if it says romantic relationships, but honestly, the tips or the research in here shows to everyone, just because of our meaning as human beings and our desire to belong. So recent research shows that perceiving poor alternatives to a relationship and has likely of staying with an undesirable partner. This includes friends. If you have friends and you really don't want to lose that friend, then the likelihood of staying in it is probably really good until you cut off the relationship completely, or there are other alternatives. So take a look at this article. It's by Psych Central. I love Psych Central because their articles are reviewed by mental health professionals or specialists in their field. So definitely take a look at it. If you're stuck in a relationship where someone is just unbearable, but you're still in it, you might want to read this, and it might opt you to break that relationship up. Without further ado, this is my top 5 teams for Weather Cup Great League Edition, and let's get started. Alright, first off, we got Ludicolo, Kingdra, and Swampert. So Ludicolo is your lead, Kingdra is your safe switch, and Swampert closes out. This team is basically designed to just kill Lantern. Ludicolo as your lead. Ludicolo can actually beat Bastiodon if it's able to land Hydro Pump. So one of the key matchups here for your Ludicolo is that if you look over here with Bastiodon, if you're able to blast through, if you're able to hit Hydro Pump, here's the one shield. You need to shield something, but if this lands, you will kill it. Bastiodons might not think about shielding at this point because of the fact that it's almost nearly dead, but if they do shield and want to keep switch, then that's fine with them. If they do shield here, then what you can do is you can send in Swampert, get a butt ton of energy, and then throw that all at your opponent's back row. Again, this team is pretty much designed, as you see, to kill Lantern. Other than that, there's a lot of things you have to worry about as an Obama, Snow, and Pelipper. Not to say there's not win conditions, though. Just because you have Kingdra Safe Switch and, of course, Octazooka. If you're able to land an Outrage, you can win back Switch, or you can debuff your opponent and bait a shield, either way. Not a ton of bulk. This team is just designed to do a crap ton of damage, especially when you have a Razor Leafer on your team. Alright, next up we have Politoed, Cradily, and Araquanid. So Politoed is actually really good in this cup for the fact that it outpaces everything that it's weak to, i.e. Swampert. You also have Poly, you also have Pelipper. However, this is kind of dangerous when you're up against Pelipper, just because Pelipper can wall you. And vice versa, because it has to hit her turn on Politoed, but Politoed is so fast on energy because it only takes 4 mud shots to get to a Weather Ball. Cradily will be a safe switch, and Araquanid closes out. If your opponent switches into a Cradily, you have Araquanid. This is basically here to catch Cradilies. Cradily is going to be a very popular safe switch, and you see across the board, this team has a really good grade. Cradily doesn't do well against Araquanid. As you see here, if you look at it, Araquanid is able to beat Cradily in almost every shield scenario, especially by debuffing it. Even if you have Stone Edge, you'll debuff it enough to where it doesn't even matter anymore. So that's the key with Araquanid in the back. Be careful of using Cradily Safe Switch, just because you see this Araquanid back rows are going to be murderous. So make sure you have a counter to Araquanid if you have a poly. For example, you throw in Cradily, you send in Bastiodon to farm down Araquanid. That's basically probably what's going to happen a lot of times. This also uses Legacy Politoed, so if you don't have one, don't worry about it. There's a lot of other things can work here, but this does need Earthquake Politoed to work. The reason why I like Earthquake Politoed a lot is because Earthquake Politoed is able to take out a lot of the meta that doesn't outright resist Weather Ball, and it gives you an option to finish off your opponent with Earthquake against things like Lantern and Toxapex. As you see, Lantern, Toxapex, if you're able to land Earthquake on either of these, you might be able to come out with some kind of win con. As you see in 0-1 shields, one Earthquake will do 65 damage, so it does half of Toxapex's HP. Couple that with Mudshot, you're going to be able to get to those very quickly. Next up, we have Toxapex, Cradily, and Lantern. So Toxapex lead, it's actually really interesting, just because if you look at the overall grade of this team, it actually has A's across the board, which kind of scratched my head because I'm like, how? But you have Toxapex, Cradily, and Lantern. So Cradily is going to be your safe switch. Lantern can also function as a safe switch. Toxapex is really good in this cup because Sludge Wave and Brine, even though Brine is weak, Toxapex is incredibly bulky. Along with the fact that it's able to beat things like Cradily itself, which is what its main thing. Also take out things like Abomasnow, Ludicolo. It's the only poison type in the top meta that's actually able to take out the grass types in here, and just laughs if you try to Razor Leaf it down because Razor Leaf only does neutral damage. Also takes out Blaziken, so very great Mon with the only weakness of this team really being Tyrantum. Swampert is also rough, but mind you, Swampert has to land an Earthquake in order to take out Toxapex. If you shield your Earthquakes, the brines are pretty much going to add up. But Earthquake still does a dangerous amount of damage, so just be very careful that you don't get jebaited by Swamperts. Safe for you to just switch out of Cradily and then have your Toxapex and whatever's left to close out. So because Swampert has to land Earthquakes against things like Lantern in order to beat it, or even Toxapex, you can possibly play out a match where Cradily has a good match against whatever's in the back, or you can come out with energy advantage to where you can wipe out their Swampert with a lot of energy, because Swampert isn't the squishiest, isn't the bulkiest thing in the world. So just be careful of them Earthquakes with this team, but across the board, it does have an A for grades. Next up, we have Bastiodon, Lantern, and Ludicolo. So this is ABB. This is also Grasshole. This is a literal Grass Hole version of Weather Cup, and I'm putting it out here because it's totally doable. You can have Ludicolo. You can also put it together with Lombre XL, which is something I can see, or you could pair it with Abomasnow. So, or Abama, not Obama. Well, Obama. If you didn't vote, if you know, you know. But yes, vote for Abomasnow. But yes, Obama. I'm putting Lantern here just as a safe switch. So if you lose the lead with Bastion like a fighter, in Blaziken, you could safe switch to the Lantern. Try to close things out with Bastiodon and Ludicolo. Ludicolo against this one, I forgot to put Hydro Pump on it. You kind of don't need Leaf Storm because you're almost not likely going to get to it. However, if you're able to I've already put this out there, if you're able to Hydro Pump through shields, you'll be able to take out things like Blaziken as well as Bastion, which is why you want Hydro Pump Ludicolo. This team isn't too hard to function. You switch in a Lantern if you lose lead, and then you just tap, tap, tap your way to victory. This is why Pokemon Go has such a bad rep, because a Grass Hole team in the Weather Cup, as you see here, has actually pretty good grades. So if you want to get through your matches very quickly, but you still want to get your start up, so this team is definitely for you. Lead with Bastion, safe switch with Lantern, and then shred with Ludicolo and Bastiodon with Rock and Grass. The thing you hate the most is probably going to be out here a lot if someone wants to get their battles done quickly. Alright, and last but not least, we have ABB. We have Lantern, Cradily, and Regirock. Lantern Cradily core is incredibly powerful for this cup, so if you put Lantern and Cradily together, it's literally going to give you an ace across. That's just how good they are together because of their pressure and just how well they cover each other. We're going to put Regirock in the back over here. Regirock with Focus Blast is able to nuke those Bastiodons, take out Abomasnow if you're able to see it. It's Abama. I know it's Abama, but you can nuke a lot of the grass types, particularly the Steel, and of course the Abomasnow. And Stone Edge hurts, and it also charges really quickly. It is across the board. This team has a lot of charge damage, and is going to be very, very dangerous if you have a Regirock to spare. Your only weakness being Kingdra. While Kingdra is really strong, you're also discouraged to using Dragon Breath users just because of the fact that Bastiodon exists. So when you see Bastiodon versus Kingdra, Kingdra just cries because it's Dragon Breath resisted. You can Octazooka and debuff it, but that doesn't stop Bastiodon from absolutely ending your roll by just absolutely heavy metal headbanging and chucking a bunch of rocks at your face. But this team does have A's across the board. Regirock is a fantastic closer, and Cradily is able to just do what it does as a safe switch. If you see Swampert lead, you can even sack Lantern. It's not super bad of a match. Like, even though the ratings are super high, Lantern has to hit. This is very bait dependent. So, Swampert must land an Earthquake if it's going to take you out. So, it has to land that Earthquake. Otherwise, it's rough for your opponent. So, as long as they aren't labeled land or Earthquake, you are just fine. Really solid team. Again, Lantern and Cradily, if you put these two together, it literally gives you A's across the board because it's the strongest core here for the Weather Cup and Great League. And that's game. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. So, I'm going to be able to create more content soon. But before I do, I need your help. With the season winding down in the next, I would say, couple of weeks, I also need to do fundraising for a high school wrestling team. So, I just realized, or I found out that our old coach actually didn't do any fundraising for the past like 2 or 3 years. And I'm kind of scratching my head because that's not very responsible. So I have to do it. But including one of the ideas I popped up was using my content as kind of a fundraiser. So I have a donate button on the description or a link. If you click that link, you can donate if you would choose to. If you do, I'm going to put your name at the end of a slide here, which is going to have your name along with everybody else that donated. And I'm going to keep the campaign running. So I'm going to just continuously add names to it. But I'm going to be sure to thank every one of you that do donate. And 100% this is for the kids. And it's not for me. So I've been using a lot of my time as a head coach. And it's because I like working with kids. And it makes me a better fighter as a jiu-jitsu fighter. At least that's what my coaches say. But in order for me to help these kids out in some of the tournaments, and to make sure we don't fall behind, I set up a fundraising link on my description again. So if you'd like to donate, no pressure, go right ahead. But if you do, I really do appreciate you. Even if you just watch my content, and even if you, But yes, please do donate if you can. I really do appreciate it. But most of all, serve my kids for the wrestling team. So, I hope that you guys are enjoying Season 13. Hopefully y'all made Legend over Go Battle Weekend. I wasn't able to make content because we had a tournament, and I was just dead tired and I have a lot of things to do and set up, but I do appreciate y'all once more. Do me a huge favor, please like, subscribe, and content for the like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Also donate for my wrestling team. I really do appreciate y'all. Don't forget there will be a fancy slide at the end just for you and everybody else that donates. Good luck on your Go Battle sets, and I will see y'all on the next video.